Hi everyone, I'm Gena Ortega for Genealogy Bank. The 1940s. Where was your family during the 1940s? Well, the 1940s marks World War II, and perhaps some of your family was off fighting in the war, and others were stateside here in the United States. So, what was life like for those who were left behind, who had to go day by day living through wartime? Well, one of the things your family experienced was food rationing books and stamps. And so when we look at these books, maybe you've inherited some from your family, they have some information about the person on the front, but inside they have all these stamps, right? That would have been used for various food items such as meat and coffee and cheese and sugar. And so one of the things we can do to add interest to our family history is to write about what life was like during a certain time period. And so we can take these items, whether we've inherited them or not, and let our family know what was that like. What kinds of restrictions were placed on our family's food? How did they have to adapt recipes? Do some of those recipes exist today in our family's food? One of the things I'm always interested in is how did they figure out what to use and when to use it? Because what would happen is you not only use these stamps, you also paid for the food that was rationed. So how would they have known what to do? Well, the answer lies in historical newspapers. Let's take a look at the Genealogy Bank website so I can show you an example of this. Now we're on the Genealogy Bank homepage, and let me take just a few seconds to talk about how this search for social history context is going to be different than searching for an ancestor. I mean, obviously you're not searching for your ancestor's name. We are looking for articles that have to do with food rationing. And so we're going to look for keywords like food rationing. Or we're going to look for maybe recipes, and we will narrow that search down to a date range, so 1942 to 1947. So just to give you a little bit of background, food rationing in the United States began in May 1942. Sugar was the first thing rationed, and then after that was coffee, and then slowly other foods were added. And this continued until the end of the war, when food rationing for most things ended except for sugar. So we're really looking for, when we think about, okay, what are we adding to our family history? We're looking for articles that are Q&As, questions and answers, to help us explain what food rationing was and what happened during food rationing. How did you use the stamps? There's actually also tokens. How did you use those? We're looking for articles that maybe give some insight into food rationing. And then we're also looking for articles maybe that show us recipes for foods that were used kind of as an alternative to using foods that were being rationed. Like, for example, desserts that didn't use as much sugar, for example. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. So let's go ahead and let's look at some examples. So here's the first example I found. This is from Chicago, and it's from the Daily Times from February of 1943. And you can tell there's all kinds of more articles in this page that are geared towards women, everything from baking a cherry pie to braiding rugs. And so in the middle, there is this article about how to use point rationing. And so what it does is it tells you about ration book number 2. There were different ration books that were given out at specific time periods, and it tells you everything from where do you get the book to how do you go about using it. So that can really help, because I think most of us know what food rationing was, but to get that kind of detail, that might go really well with showing some ration coupons you have from a family member, and then adding some recipes or other detail to your family member's life. Now, I really love this article. As I gathered various rationing articles for, uh, blog posts and for this video, this is one of my favorites. This is from the Morning World Herald from Omaha, Nebraska in March of 1943. And what I love about it is basically a marketing piece from Armour. And if you don't know what Armour was, at this point they had all kinds of foods, but one of the things they're still known for is canned meat products. And what I like about it is it talks about how many points do you get, and then it physically shows you what that equals. Now remember, you didn't just give these points, these coupons, to the grocer, you also paid. So this wasn't in lieu of paying for food, but it tells you exactly what you can get, which is a nice visual for understanding why our families ate certain things and went without certain things during this time period. And so it tells you, here's the way you kind of plan out, and this is what you do. And it worked with all this information from the government. In fact, you can see here it says it's approved by the Office of Price Administration. That was the government agency that enforced food rationing and gave out the booklets and so forth. So this is another great example that you could add to your family history. Finally, I want to show you this article. It's for Memorial Day, and it talks about how you can still have a Memorial Day picnic despite rationing. Now, it talks about food rationing, but it also mentions gasoline rationing, because that was another item that was rationed. There were non-food items, gasoline, tires, shoes, that were rationed as well. And in this one, it talks about you can, picnic in your own backyard. And it talks also about here are some food suggestions that don't take up your precious ration points. And so it gives you a macaroni picnic salad and submarines, which are basically a sandwich that you can use, and you don't have to worry about using up your ration points. So that's just a few of the examples that you can find on Genealogy Bank by doing an article search on the word ration or even recipes and narrowing your focus to a specific time from 1942 to upwards to 1947. So I hope that gives you an idea about how you can take a portion of the history of 1940 and add it to your family history. And if you have something like war ration books, this is a great time to digitize them and add them to that story. It's the stories about our family that our current day family want to hear. Not just the name, dates, and places, but the actual context and the information that helps them better understand life back in the 1940s. I hope this has given you some ideas, and I hope it encourages you to look at historical newspapers and start writing up some narratives about your family in the 1940s. I'll see you next time.